Welcome back to the channel. USA Coins 69, the attention of collectors for decades, the United States 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1955 with a mint mark. The Lincoln Wheat Pennies, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, are some of the most beloved coins among collectors. They were produced until 1958, and during that span, a wide variety of mint marks, small variations, and unique errors appeared, making them both historically important and potentially very valuable. Today, we'll explore the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark, uncovering its background, what makes it special, and why it's worth keeping an eye out for even today. The year 1955 is one that resonates strongly in numismatic circles. This is the year of the legendary double-die penny, one of the most famous errors in U.S. coin history, which created a frenzy among collectors and turned ordinary pocket change into a potential goldmine. But even without the double die, the 1955 wheat pennies are fascinating, especially those with mint marks such as D for Denver and S for San Francisco. These little letters tell us where the coin was minted, and depending on the mint, the rarity and value can vary greatly. Coins struck at Denver were produced in large numbers, while the San Francisco mint often produced fewer, and that difference can create significant value for collectors today. Let's dive into the design first, because part of the charm of the 1955 wheat penny lies in its classic look. On the obverse, or the front, you'll see the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, his profile sharp and dignified. Above him is the motto, "In God We Trust," while to the left you'll find the word "Liberty," and to the right is the date, 1955, along with the mint mark if present. On the reverse, you'll find two wheat stalks curving along the edges of the coin, framing the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Above it all rests the phrase, E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. It's a timeless design that symbolized America's agricultural roots while honoring one of its greatest leaders. Now, let's talk about why the 1955 wheat penny with a mint mark is so intriguing to collectors. First, its connection to the famous double die error adds excitement. Many collectors hope that their 1955 penny could be one of those rare double die versions. Even without that error, though, coins with mint marks can carry premium value, especially in higher grades. For example, if you find a 1955 wheat penny that's been preserved in excellent condition, it can fetch far more than face value because of its relative scarcity compared to the Philadelphia no mint mark version. Condition is key when it comes to determining the true value of a 1955 wheat penny. Most of these coins circulated heavily in everyday commerce. After all, they were just pennies at the time. That means they picked up scratches, wear, discoloration, and other damage from years of use. A coin in good or fine condition might not bring in much money, but when you find one in mint state or uncirculated condition, it can become extremely valuable. Collectors and investors always look for coins with sharp details, clear mint marks, and original luster that hasn't been worn down by decades of handling. The mint mark itself also plays an important role. A 1955 D penny, for example, was produced in large quantities, but that doesn't mean they're worthless. Many Denver-struck coins still sell for more than face value, especially if they're in pristine condition. The San Francisco mint mark, the S, tends to be more appealing to collectors, as lower mintages and better condition coins are harder to find. That combination of scarcity and condition is what drives prices upward. Another thing to keep in mind is the fascination that coin errors bring to collectors. While the most famous is the 1955 double die obverse, other smaller errors can still add significant value. These might include off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, die cracks, or other unique imperfections created during the minting process. Each of these errors tells a story, reminding us that coin production, even in the modern age, is not always perfect. Collectors are willing to pay large sums for these unusual pieces of history, and they make the hunt for rare pennies even more exciting. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series has always been popular because it connects people with American history. Imagine holding a coin minted in 1955, it's been around for nearly 70 years, passed through countless hands, perhaps used to buy candy, newspapers, or gas when prices were just a fraction of what they are today. Each penny is a tiny time capsule, a reminder of how far the country has come and how things once were. That emotional and historical connection adds to the appeal and value of coins like the 1955 Wheat Penny. So, if you happen to have a handful of old wheat pennies lying around, don't overlook them. Check the dates carefully, look for mint marks, and examine their condition. You might be surprised to discover that what looks like just an ordinary old penny could actually be worth far more. Even if you don't have the famous double die variety, a 1955 wheat penny with a mint mark in excellent condition can still command impressive prices at auctions and among collectors. Today, let's take a long journey into the story of the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark and discover why this unassuming coin can be worth so much money. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and it replaced the Indian head cent that had been circulating for decades. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was revolutionary at the time because it was the first American coin to feature a real person rather than an allegorical figure. On the obverse, or front, you'll see a right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, his profile sharp and detailed, with the word "Liberty" inscribed to his left and the date to his right. Above his head is the familiar phrase, "In God We Trust," which has become an iconic part of U.S. coinage. On the reverse side, you'll find two wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent and United States of America, along with the phrase, E pluribus unum, at the top. These wheat stalks are what gave the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. By 1952, the wheat penny had already been in circulation for over 40 years, and billions had been minted at various facilities across the country. The mint mark is what tells us which facility produced the coin. A small D indicates Denver, an S shows it came from San Francisco, and if there is no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. Each location produced millions of coins in 1952, but not all of them have survived in high quality. That's where rarity comes into play. A coin that might be common in worn condition can become extremely rare and valuable if it survives in pristine, almost untouched form. Collectors today are especially drawn to the 1952 wheat penny when it carries a mint mark and remains in high-grade condition. Some examples have sharp details, full red luster, and no visible marks, making them highly desirable. In addition, errors and unique striking varieties from this year make the coin even more fascinating. Coins that were double-struck, struck off-center, or minted with unusual die features have commanded impressive prices at auction. Even a tiny difference in detail can turn a penny into a treasure. What makes the 1952 mint-marked penny so intriguing is that most people who had these coins back in the day simply spent them without a second thought. They went into pockets, purses, jars, and piggy banks, and over time, most of them became worn, scratched, or corroded. That's why finding one in nearly perfect condition today feels like uncovering a piece of history frozen in time. A coin that has survived 7 decades while still shining with its original luster tells a story all on its own. For collectors, the hunt for these coins is as thrilling as the coins themselves. Imagine searching through rolls of old pennies or inherited collections and suddenly spotting the date 1952 with a mint mark, then realizing that the coin is in immaculate shape. That moment of discovery is what fuels the passion of numismatists around the world. These coins are more than just money. They're tangible connections to America's past, symbols of craftsmanship, and keys to unlocking value that far exceeds 1 cent. The beauty of coin collecting is that you never know where you might find such a piece. It could be hiding in an old jar in the attic, tucked away in a family heirloom, or even still sitting in circulation, though that's incredibly rare today. Each time someone stumbles upon one of these pennies, it sparks curiosity and excitement. What looks ordinary to most people could in fact be worth thousands to the right collector. Now, here's where things get truly exciting. While the majority of 1952 wheat pennies are only worth a few cents in average circulated condition, those rare, high-quality specimens with mint marks can reach values that seem unbelievable. Today we're going to take a fascinating journey into the story of the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark. At first glance, this little copper coin might not look like anything extraordinary. It was, after all, produced by the millions and passed through countless hands in daily commerce. But as every seasoned collector knows, it's the details, the condition, and the history behind a coin that can transform it from a simple 1-cent piece into a highly prized treasure worth serious money. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, also called the Lincoln Cent, first entered circulation in 1909. It was introduced to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the beloved 16th President of the United States. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin broke tradition by being the first American coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. On the obverse, or front, you'll see the detailed portrait of Lincoln facing right, with, "In God We Trust," arched above, the word "Liberty" to the left, and the year of issue to the right. On the reverse side, the design is simple yet powerful, 2 stalks of wheat flanking the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the motto, E Pluribus Unum, appearing above. This wheat design continued until 1958, when it was replaced with the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse. By 1956, the wheat penny had been in production for nearly 5 decades, and the U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were still striking millions of these coins each year. The mint mark, which appears just below the date on the obverse, identifies where the coin was made. A D means Denver, an S means San Francisco, and no mark at all means Philadelphia. For the 1956 issue, the Denver Mint produced a very large number of coins, and the Philadelphia Mint produced its own massive supply. Because of this, most 1956 wheat pennies are quite common, at least in circulated condition. But here's where it gets exciting: when a coin like this is found in pristine, untouched condition, or with a rare minting error, it becomes something altogether different, something that can command incredible prices from eager collectors. Think about the journey of a coin. Most pennies from 1956 entered circulation immediately and were used for decades. They were spent at grocery stores, dropped into vending machines, tossed into piggy banks, and rattled around in jars of spare change. Over time, they became worn, scratched, and dull, losing that beautiful original luster they had the moment they left the mint. That's why finding one today in near-perfect condition is such a rarity. A coin that has survived nearly 70 years with its red copper glow still intact and all its details sharp is like a time capsule from mid-20th century America. Collectors are especially drawn to coins with strong eye appeal, those that have never been heavily handled, coins that gleam as though they were minted yesterday. But the 1956 wheat penny is also famous for another reason: errors and varieties. During this time, mistakes occasionally occurred at the mint, and those mistakes turned ordinary coins into rare finds. Double die errors, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks are some of the most intriguing varieties that can be found on 1956 pennies. These errors make the coin not only historically significant but also unique, which in turn drives up its desirability and value among collectors. Imagine the thrill of searching through a collection or an old jar of coins and suddenly spotting the date 1956 with a mint mark. At first you might shrug, thinking it's just another penny. But then you notice the condition: it's almost flawless, with sharp details and bright color. Or maybe you spot a striking error, a doubling of the numbers in the date, or a mint mark that looks like it's been stamped more than once. That's the kind of discovery that makes coin collecting such an exciting adventure. The beauty of these coins lies not just in their metal but in the stories they carry. A 1956 penny might have once been used by a child to buy candy at a corner store, or by a family during a time when every cent mattered. Now, decades later, those same coins are being carefully preserved by collectors and historians, treasured not only for their monetary value but also for the glimpse they provide into America's past. Most 1956 wheat pennies in average condition are worth only a small premium over face value. They're plentiful enough that collectors can easily add them to their collections. But when a coin from this year appears in superb condition, fully red, with absolutely no flaws, or when it carries an unusual error, its value skyrockets. These are the examples that auction houses love to feature, the coins that collectors battle over with fierce determination, and that brings us to the most exciting part of all. While the ordinary 1956 wheat penny may be common, there exists a select few examples that have reached extraordinary levels of value. Today, found hiding right in plain sight, in pocket change or in a small box tucked away in a family drawer. One of the most fascinating examples of this comes from the humble 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny minted in the year 1948. At first glance, it might look like any other old penny you've seen before, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse, but the story of this coin is much deeper than just copper and design. It's a piece of American history, a reflection of post-World War II life, and in rare cases, a potential jackpot for those lucky enough to find the right variety or condition. The 1948 wheat penny was minted just 3 years after the Second World War ended, at a time when the United States was transitioning from wartime industry into a booming economy. Copper, the metal used to make these pennies, was essential during the war for producing ammunition and equipment. Once the war ended, copper returned fully to the minting process, bringing back the familiar reddish-brown shine collectors know so well. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint with its D Mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint with its S Mint mark were responsible for producing these coins. Each mint produced millions of them, which means the coin isn't rare in terms of quantity, but the true value lies in condition, unique errors, and how few high-grade examples have survived over decades of circulation. Collectors often ask, what makes a 1948 penny so special? The answer lies in details. First, condition is everything. A heavily worn penny might just be worth its face value or a little above to someone who enjoys old coins, but a well-preserved example in mint state condition, with sharp details, no scratches, and its original red luster, becomes something extraordinary. The difference between a circulated 1948 wheat penny and a gem mint state one can be thousands of dollars. Add in factors like doubling errors, off-center strikes, or rare varieties, and you've got a coin that makes even seasoned collectors' hearts race. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that has traveled through history. Perhaps it once sat in the pocket of a soldier returning home from war, or was used to buy groceries in the 1950s, or maybe it was tossed into a child's piggy bank in the 1960s. Every mark and scratch on a circulated coin tells a story. But then, imagine a coin that escaped all of that, one that never circulated, one that stayed pristine and untouched. That's where the highest values come from, coins preserved almost like time capsules. Now let's talk about errors, because error coins are some of the most sought-after pieces in the collecting world. A 1948 wheat penny with a double die error, for example, where the lettering or numbers appear doubled because of a striking mistake at the mint, can fetch impressive sums. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even coins accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet are among the kinds of rarities that turn a common penny into a collector's dream. These are the coins that people pay serious money for, simply because they're one of a kind. Another fascinating aspect of collecting coins like the 1948 wheat penny is that they serve as tangible history lessons. The design itself is steeped in meaning. The obverse, featuring Lincoln, was originally introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of his birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait, and it set a new standard for American coin design. The reverse, with 2 wheat stalks flanking the words, 1 cent, symbolized prosperity and growth, values that were especially resonant in the years following World War II. Holding one of these coins, you're not just holding money, you're holding a piece of culture and symbolism from a very specific moment in time. So how do you know if the penny you have could be valuable? First, check the mint mark. Look just below the date on the obverse. You'll see either nothing at all, which means Philadelphia, or a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. Certain mint marks in higher grades are more desirable. Next, evaluate the condition. If your coin still has that vibrant reddish shine, minimal scratches, and sharp details, it may be worth getting it professionally graded. Collectors also scour their coins for possible errors or die varieties, because those are the keys to uncovering hidden treasures. It's important to remember that while millions of 1948 pennies exist, only a fraction have survived in pristine condition or with valuable errors. That's what makes them so intriguing. You never really know until you look closely. Many stories have surfaced of people finding extremely valuable coins in jars, in inherited collections, or even in pocket change. It's that thrill of discovery that keeps collectors and treasure hunters searching. Now imagine this, one of these 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Pennies from 1948, with the right mint mark, perfect condition, and just the right touch of rarity, has been valued by collectors for an astonishing $90,000 in words. Today, we're going to dive into the fascinating story of the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny with its mint mark, exploring why it's so special, what makes it rare, and why collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts of money to own one. The year 1957 marked one of the final chapters of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. First introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the wheat penny carried with it a sense of pride and heritage. On one side, Lincoln's portrait stands tall, gazing forward with a sense of determination, while on the reverse, two wheat stalks frame the words, 1 cent, a design meant to symbolize prosperity and strength. But by 1959, the wheat ears would be retired and replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design, making coins like the 1957 wheat penny some of the last ever struck with this iconic imagery. That alone already makes it interesting to collectors, but when you add the mint mark and unique conditions that surround certain examples of this coin, the value skyrockets. Now, what makes a coin like the 1957 wheat penny so intriguing is not just its design, but the stories hidden in its details. Look closely at the coin, and right under the date, you may see a tiny letter. This is the mint mark. Depending on whether it was struck in Denver, San Francisco, or Philadelphia, this small letter can make all the difference in the coin's desirability. While millions of 1957 wheat pennies were minted, not all of them survived in pristine condition, and even fewer came with the kinds of minting errors or qualities that collectors are obsessed with today. Think about it, back then, these pennies were used every single day. They passed from hand to hand, bought groceries, paid for gas, or were tucked into a child's allowance. Most were scratched, worn, and eventually discarded. That's why finding a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny in uncirculated condition, with sharp details and rich luster, is like stumbling upon a time capsule from over 6 decades ago. The more perfect the condition, the higher the value, and if there's a mint mark involved, that value can leap even higher. But here's where things get really exciting. Some of these 1957 wheat pennies carry rare minting errors that make them incredibly valuable. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks can turn a simple penny into a collector's treasure. Imagine spotting one of these in your change and realizing that instead of being worth a single cent, it's worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more. That's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that a hidden fortune might be sitting unnoticed in your pocket. The Lincoln Wheat Penny also has a deeper emotional connection for many collectors. It's a coin that reminds us of simpler times, of grandparents who might have tucked these away in jars, of moments when a single penny still had real purchasing power. Holding one connects you directly to history. It's not just a coin, it's a story frozen in metal. And when you find one from 1957 with the right mint mark, in the right condition, that story becomes even more valuable. Now, let's talk about the number everyone wants to know. Just how much could a 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark be worth? In rare cases, when preserved in exceptional condition and highly sought after by collectors, this coin has been valued at an astonishing $97,000. Yes, you heard that right, $97,000 for a single penny. So the next time you come across an old jar of coins, or you find yourself holding a penny that seems a little older than the rest, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. That tiny mint mark, that small detail, could be the key to discovering a coin that is far more than just pocket change. It could be a treasure, a piece of history, and perhaps even a life-changing find. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark proves that sometimes, the smallest things hold the greatest value, and that the next fortune could be sitting quietly in the palm of your hand.